Hi, I'm Aaron Barnes, and this is The Bigger Picture. Today we're talking about George Washington Carver, a guy you probably know, especially if you love anything peanut related. Before we get started, can I just say how proud I am that the community center that I grew up in was named after this guy? Quick shout out to Kokomo, Indiana. Anyway, Carver had a rough start to life. He was born into slavery in Missouri in the mid-1800s, orphaned, then raised by the people who enslaved his parents. Fortunately, slavery was abolished shortly after Carver was born, but unfortunately for him, rampant racism still existed, and no one would be able to educate Carver, or at least no one would allow Carver to be educated in their public institutions. Side note, quick shout out to Carver's adoptive white parents who educated him when no other schools would. There is a time to recognize the good people among the oppressors who were responsible for the racial discrimination in the first place. This is that time. Thank you. But let's get back to Curious George. His curiosity would follow him throughout his life and into his academic career, propelling him into a thriving agricultural scientific career. Just like in his hometown, he was denied admission into several educational institutions over and over again. He eventually decided, you know what, forget all of that. I'm going to start my own scientific laboratory where I study the questions that I find interesting. In one of these such labs, he studied topics like biology and geology. He even went on to study arts in what time. Finally, he would become one of the first black students to graduate from Iowa State Agricultural College with a Bachelor of Science. From Iowa, Carver would go on to lead the agricultural department at Booker T. Washington's Tuskegee Institute. I think it goes without saying that Carver was a wizard in a classroom. He went on to even pioneer what would become known as a mobile classroom, effectively bringing the classroom to his students to meet them where they're at. A novel idea that still eludes some of our educators in the present time. Okay, let's get right to it. What made Carver famous was his work with the peanut during his time at Tuskegee Institute. He studied, experimented, and developed new uses for the peanut that we still use today. Beyond peanut butter, he developed plastics, oils, fuels, all types of uses for the peanut that people had previously not even investigated or even thought of. His agricultural expertise was sought out by people like Teddy Roosevelt, president of the US at the time, the British Royal Empire, or even Mahatma Gandhi. Carver stayed away from the political scene and instead used his celebrity to face scientific issues. He also leveraged his popularity to bring attention to important causes to him like agricultural innovation or institutions like Tuskegee, or even racial issues between black and white people in America. In one of his sole self-enhancing acts, Carver used his savings to develop a museum dedicated to his life's work. This museum would have provided years of lasting inspiration for inventors and scientists of color, but like so many other black achievements, it was lost by fire. Yeah, I know, surprising no one. What we can learn from George Washington Carver is the power of creativity that can be inspired by education. Carver was a guy who wasn't limited or bound by the things that he was taught in the classroom. He used that knowledge to then investigate and extend the boundary of knowledge to then create new knowledge for people to benefit from in the future. He wasn't limited by what was already known about science, agriculture, peanuts, yams, or sweet potatoes to some of you. Instead, he expanded the threshold of existing agricultural knowledge in his field. He dedicated his life to sharing that knowledge amongst all types of people, but black people specifically, because he wanted them to become self-sufficient by using the land that they had been forced to toil for other people to help sustain themselves and their families. That, plus his dedication to excellence in his field and insatiable curiosity, is how George Washington Carver helps us see the bigger picture. Thanks for watching.